Good evening. This is such a wasted sheet because next time, Sachin, I'm going to speak first because everything that I had to say, both of the gentlemen have said it already. Uh, anyway, since I wanted to discuss brands and millennial consumer behavior, and much of it has been spoken about already, I'm going to just share a little personal story with you. Before that, I just want to say something about the new consumer behavior. There are going to be just two kinds of consumers in the world. They are going to come and buy a diamond from you, and they're going to bargain you down to the last penny, or they're going to come and buy an exceptional diamond from you with an exceptional experience and give you some exceptional money in exchange and loyalty forever. So you have to decide which side of the fence you belong to. I decided that pretty early in my life. You know, I wouldn't call myself a visionary but when I look at it in the hindsight, maybe I have a little bit of that streak because I've always believed in creating a back end and a service end much before I started creating a business. It's not because of anything else, it's just because for me, it's an age-old technique of doing business that you first create a foundation and then you look for business around you. I remember when I had a capacity for only, let's say, 5 to 6 tailors. I got a 3,500 square feet factory. I did not even know at that point of time how I would meet the rent because it could house about 200 tailors, but I had only 5. But I thought that it was important to invest in real estate because as and when the business grew, I would not have to scramble around to look for better real estate. I did pretty much the same thing with my first store. I remember going to my dad looking very sheepishly and saying that, my first store was like a 5,000 square feet store in Calcutta, which by industry standards and at a time when I started it, was an exceptionally large store. And I didn't have an exceptionally large collection of clothing. So I said that, okay, I'm going to convert the store into about 10% of retail and 90% of experience. Soon after, in about 4 months' time, I got a nod from the investment wing of Louis Vuitton because they were very charmed by the way I was conducting my business and they wanted to put some investment in, which I graciously refused. After that, I happened to meet Renze Russo, who is basically the chairman of Diesel, and he told me pretty much the same thing. He said, you know what, I wanted to build a great denim brand and I wanted to basically go for it, go right after Levi's, and I decided to open a store in Fifth Avenue, and exactly opposite to Levi's. So I put in all the money and all the gumption that I had, and I got a store which was about 25,000 square feet, because I said that, if you want to really be successful in denim, you need to be first successful in America, which is the God's own country for denim. So I said, what did you do? He said, Sabyasachi, I didn't know what to do, so there was only one logical thing. He said, I thought that I would do 10% retail and 90% experience. So I got in a jukebox, I converted the store into a disco, there was a bar, there was a nightclub where people would hang out, and I had a very unique way of asking people to come and join the store. I did what he did was he did a talent hunt where everybody would come for 1 minute and show what they could do. And then he decided to pick up 20 of the smartest kids in America who were great at performing arts to be the new ambassadors and the salespeople for the Diesel store. And that is pretty much how the Diesel store succeeded. It made me smile because I realized that there are similar people all around the world who probably think a certain way, though in different scales. I've always been a big fan of Ralph Lauren. I think primarily because I like the way they conduct retail. When you go into a Ralph Lauren store, I personally think it's the most experiential store in the whole world. You feel like you're a part of the Ralph Lauren family. You want to be the consumer. Ralph Lauren has grown up and become big, selling the big American dream to middle-class Americans, and he's done it very successfully and very effortlessly and very beautifully. And I buy that dream almost every time I go to America. So it wasn't. It was like sweet poetic justice that the CEO of Ralph Lauren comes to India and he speaks to Mr. Amitav Kant and he says that, by the way, did you go and see the Sabyasachi store in New Delhi? I think it's probably one of the most beautiful stores that we have seen anywhere in the world. It gives me great pleasure because what we did with our business has got us many collaborations. A collaboration with Mr. Christian Louboutin, who's currently in Calcutta filming with me. It has got us a big global collaboration in America with Pottery Barn. It has got a forever collaboration with Forever Mark. I hope that stays forever, Sachin, because I'm very happy to be with you all. The point that I'm trying to make to you right now is the fact that, when I look at the jewelry industry in this country, I don't think that there is a lot of respect about jewelry in this country, the way the respect is in the West, because the way people consume in the West and the way that people consume in India are completely different. Because when in the West people are buying a product, they are buying a product for many other things, not just the intrinsic value of the product alone. They're not just buying a diamond. They're buying the blue box. They're buying the red box. They're buying the experience. They're buying what the salespeople make them believe. And they're buying also a small part of their dream that they live vicariously by going to a Tiffany store or a Cartier store. Just to, it's a whole part of a very big immersive experience. In India, buying of jewelry has just become a transaction. What bothers me is that we are a country which has always been the heartland of jewelry. The best jewelry has been produced for us. The best jewelry has been produced by us. Why are we still fighting for petty margins? There's a good thing and a bad thing to this story. The good thing is, the so-called family jeweler in the next 15 to 20 years will cease to exist. Because when the new consumer comes in, I'm going to give you an example right now. I'm going to give you an example of a brand that I've worked for in the past, Bombay Dyeing. If you ask my mother what sheets she would have in her house, she would say, I would only buy Bombay Dyeing bed sheets. If I ask my sister, she'll say Portico. Because she has no engagement with brand Bombay Dyeing. She has not had any engagement with Bombay Dyeing for the longest time. And for her, it is always the news story that comes during her lifetime. So what my grandmother has thought about jewelry, what my mother has thought about value, what my father has thought about consumption is their story. It's not mine anymore. So today I am going to look for a consumption theory that is mine, defined by me, defined by my needs, and by the person that I am today. So in this case, what will happen, the jewelers who are going to start investing in aligning with brands, or the jewelers who are going to start investing in aligning with building a better value proposition for themselves by building better stories, by creating a bigger presence on social media, by also probably creating a direct communication with the customer today is going to be the jeweler of the future. The rest of them will be bargained down to their last penny. So the moral of the story is that today you are in a delightful situation whether you can decide whether you want to sink or whether you want to float. And if you want to float, the jewelry industry in this country has to, and I would say has to underline, reinvent themselves so that you're no longer trading, but you're giving your customer an experience. A lot of people tell me that, Sabyasachi, your clothes are very expensive. I don't agree. I don't agree because of the fact that we put in a lot into our clothes. We sell 20 pieces of clothing on an average from 35,000 square feet of retail space. That's a lot of money to spend for rent. We advertise 15% of our annual turnover is plowed back into advertising. This year we are increasing our advertising spends on social media and largely on Instagram by about 7.5%. I own a TV show in India that has done 8 seasons on the bridal sector. And when you survive on TV for 8 seasons, and this year we are producing the TV show ourselves, you know that you're here to stay. What we do is every year, exceptionally, we increase our quality, we increase our advertising footprint, we slightly decrease our prices, and we open our distribution for a larger section of people, because I believe in the concept of democratic luxury. Because if you're in India and if you don't believe in democratic luxury, you're not really going to go that far. So So what I was trying to say again and again is for the jewelry industry in India, especially the diamond sector, has to reinvent itself in aligning to think about how are you going to service a customer who's not loyal to you. Because the customer will find out who they think they are loyal to by means of what is your digital presence, what kind of stories that you're telling, how ethically you're sourcing, how beautifully you are represented, your stores are represented, whether you are aligning with celebrities, whether you're aligning with brands. And if you don't tick these boxes for them, you're just going to be a vestigial trader for them, and very soon you're going to go out of business. You know what Sachin has said, and which I would say again and again, I think it's very important for all of us, not just in the jewelry industry, but in the food industry, in the real estate industry, in clothing industry, in the music industry, in the film industry. This is the time that every one of us have to reinvent ourselves to stay aligned and to stay relevant to a future that is widely unknown. Thank you.